Imagine building a solid game franchise and it all crumbled because of greed, inconsistency, not listening to your audience and trying to build an agenda. This is how one game ruined the Central franchise. The Central franchise started way back in 2006, made by a developer called Volition under THQ. Released on September 1, 2006, set within the fictional city of Stillwater, based on Detroit. The single-player story follows a player-created character who joins the 3rd Street Saints gang after they saved his life and helped them rise to prominence by undermining enemy criminal syndicates, while slowly building up his own reputation within the gang. The storyline is non-linear and divided into 3 separate story arcs for each rival gang that the player must defeat, with GTA being the most popular open-world game by that time. When Central came out, oh boy, people loved it because it was similar to GTA, had edgy jokes.
Where now?
The penthouse.
I'm gonna skull. Hope you don't mind hepatitis. What?
The playstyle was fun and combat style quickly got some fan base. Central was a game about gang wars, had some similarity with GTA but more polished and more edgy. Central quickly caught gamer attention and was appreciated as a proper GTA rival. In October of 2008, they followed up with a sequel called Central 2, which directly follows from the event of the first game as the player's custom character awakened from a coma after 5 years to find out that their gang, the 3rd Street Saints, has been disbanded and their former terrorists taken over by a newly formed criminal syndicate and a corrupt corporation. With the help of new and old allies, the player attempts to rebuild the Saints and take back Stillwater from their rivals. This game is the most loved and highly praised. Central 2 to date, some people call it the pinnacle of the franchise because of how well it represents it. They were wild, edgy, humorous, and this took the franchise to a whole new level. People regard this game as the best Central game to date because it has the most review and the highest rating of all the Central games.
It was perfect. Perfect. Everything, down to the last minute details.
3 years later, they follow up with Central 3 and this was peak. This was extraordinary. It took what Central was known for to the extreme, with crazy weapon,
Time to duck and cover.
I can do this all day.
crazy storylines, and crazy combat. This quickly got the franchise praises. After releasing a solid game with great sequel, Volition seems unstoppable. Are they? Volition wanted to follow with an expansion for Central 3 called Enter the Dominatrix, but as work was being done, THQ, Volition Publishing Company, went bankrupt, which means funding would be stopped and all future Central projects will be put to an end. It was bad. Is this the end of Central? Is the franchise just going to die? Deep Silver saved the franchise from dying after they won the bidding for Volition and Central, meaning they took full ownership of developing and publishing Central games. The franchise have been saved. After being acquired by Deep Silver, known for a game like Dead Island, there is no doubt that Central is in the right path and aiming for something greater. Instead of doubling down and finishing the expansion for Central 3, they decided to turn it into a full game in 2013. They released the 4th sequel to the game, Central 4, which had a big change in storyline and what the game was about. It went from being a gang game to a game where the president has superpower. Then aliens came to invade the city and his mission was to stop them. Though this had some critics and some fans were complaining that the game is derailing from its original roots, some still appreciated it because it kept the humor and the edginess that made the game we love. The game was also good to play, so there were not a lot of damage after. This point was a bad turning point for the Central series. After fans were criticizing the developer for changing his route, Deep Silver tried to amend and go back to the root of the game about gang wars, and it was terrible cause they failed. Fans were disappointed when Volition launched Central Get Out of Hell in 2015, which was supposed supposed to be an expansion for Central 4, they decided to make it a full game. While some fans didn't like the perspective and didn't like it very well, fans who enjoyed it thought it should have just been a DLC instead of a full game. After this, fans pointed out that Deep Silver is trying to milk the Central series, and they did, releasing a terrible spin-off and using the name of Volition to promote it. Fans started losing hope for the franchise and were afraid their favorite franchise would die off. 4 years after their first bad reviews from fans, they announced a new game at GameCon, and things went from bad to worse quickly. Instead of releasing a new game, they released a reboot of the old games. Immediately the trailer dropped, fans weren't feeling the game like before. They changed all the characters to cringy looking ones and people hated it. The game launch came and it was worse. The game was glitchy. They removed the main core of the game, the edginess, the humor and the crazy gameplay, and also tried to include woke agenda, which was bad for a game like this. People didn't like it and the game fell off immediately. After this bad release, the developing studio for the game, Volition, had to be shut down. There is no doubt it will be hard for the series to return, but let's hope for the best.